Shalom, shalom. Double check, make sure we're live. All right, come. All right, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Ruach Qadash, the honors to the elder apostles, great millstone who rule well, and salutation, much love to Yakim out there pushing out his word and truth and sincerity. Now I'm the brother Osh from Great Millstone, Tampa, back with another lesson, Lord's will is edifying. And I got just going to go into to this I came across in this book. I picked this up at Walmart. All right, I've been using this book to go through it and just get different lessons out of it. Give me ideas for lessons. All right, this book, brothers, or y'all want to pick it up? I got it at Walmart. It's called Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. All right, so this is what we're going to go into today. As you see the title, Legs of Iron, Feet of Iron and Clay. All right, which in this book they straight up tell you is the Roman Empire. Okay, it's on page is this 122. All right, it says legs of iron and feet of iron and clay, Rome. So they're telling you straight up that it's Rome, and then it's got a bunch of little things here. And then on the next page, because the scriptures don't tell you that it's Rome, but here it says divided kingdom. Many scholars believe this kingdom to be Rome. All right, I'm gonna show you it right there. Okay, but what they don't tell you is how it correlates to the beast and how it correlates to today, and how because it says the legs of iron, which was the Roman Empire. Okay, and then the feet of iron and clay, they lump it up together, which they're right. It is the Roman Empire, but it's the Roman Empire back today. All right, which we're going to go through the scriptures and prove it. Going into Revelation, which they don't mention the book of Revelation nowhere in this book, I don't think. Let me see. Go to the index real quick. Because these scholars they want to shun away from the book of Revelation. Okay. Well, it does actually in different pages, but not in this page when it's talking about the feet of iron and clay. Don't nowhere in this book does it talk about the book of Revelation. So let's just go start off with the book of Daniel, which that's what is referred to here in this page. Okay, but that's where they get the iron and the clay. So let's go straight to it's like Daniel chapter 2, and I got a bunch of articles I'm gonna bring up. So if you want to be educated, stay tuned. This ain't gonna be entertainment. This is gonna be straightly edification. All right, like the apostles always hit on the point. If you don't know the history, you won't know the mysteries. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. We'll go to Daniel 2, and I'm gonna read the scriptures that they got posted here. Okay, so let's go to Daniel chapter 2, and what they got here, 41. Let's go to Daniel 2 and 41. Well, we'll start at 40. It says, "And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron," which is what the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, iron. You go into the history how they started using the iron weapons, and then the teeth of iron, because their army, okay, was very powerful. That's why they were able to overcome even more regions than the previous kingdoms were, or the previous beast, as the Daniel explained it. It says, "For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and this iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise." Verse 41, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron," which is the new Roman Empire. Okay. See, that's why they're trying to lump it up all together, which they are correct, because it is the Roman Empire, but they left out the part where the Roman Empire got wounded. Okay, where it had it was put in the what's it called in Revelation, the bottomless pit. See, they don't mention that. That's how it became. It went from the legs of iron to the feet of iron and clay. All right, they leave that out of there. That's why, again, you have to know the history to know the mysteries. It says, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Right. So you have what today the Roman Empire back again today. What you got the EU, okay, the EU and NATO, and America is being part of it. America being Rome itself, because remember in the ancient Roman Empire, Rome was the main spot. That was the capital, so to say. All right. So today the capital would be America, but that's why we say is Rome reincarnated, because America is where the capital city, so to say. Okay. Again, Rome. I'll say it again. Rome was the capital, but it had its reach throughout the regions, man. All the way, it ended up reaching out to the Eastern Europe. So there's a map, the brown areas of pretty much what Rome had conquered at the time. But where's Rome? Rome was in Italy. That was the capital, so to say, or the main city, right, where the emperors would dwell, right? So verse 45, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay, right? So division, okay, is not as strong as it could be because they're not mixing. So now let's go to what else they got quoted here? Daniel 7:23. So let's go here, Daniel 7:23. I'll go to. Well, we'll come back to Daniel. Let's go to Revelation now. So to get the point, because they're saying that it's Rome, which they're right, but you have to dig into Revelation. We'll go to Revelation chapter 20, verse 1. It says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, which is Europe, okay, and a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So that 1,000-year period was when the Roman Empire, as the pagan Roman Empire, all right, fell all the way back to the rebirth or the Renaissance era. That was a 1,000-year period, and we're going to prove that in history. But let me finish on. Keep reading. It says, verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up, and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. Right. So it went from the pagan Roman Empire where Esau was ruling, all right, and then slowly started losing power, all up until the point where Constantine the Great came in. That's really when that 1,000-year period started. All right, even though there was Jakes becoming emperors prior to that, the first one being Nerva, all right, right after Domitian. Nerva was Jake, so on. Then you had Trajan, all right, then Marcus Aurelius, so on and so forth. You had all these Jake emperors, but ultimately, which you're going to get into the history, when Constantine the Great changed up the capital, is really when that 1,000-year period started started, all right, and the Byzantine Empire came in for that roughly 1,000-year period, okay, and the Byzantine Empire was giving them Edomites nothing but hell, man. Okay, so let's go to this real quick. All right, the Renaissance, because this is what it's talking about here. It says that 1,000-year period. Okay, so let me just put it up on the screen here. All right, let me zoom in a little bit. So this is on historychannel.com. All right, so it says the Renaissance was a fervent period of European cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth. Rebirth of what? Esau's bullshit. His culture, his artistic. What does it mean by artistic? Iconoclasm, whitewashing, okay, which really started picking up speed in the 1400s. But as we're going to go into it, okay, that 1,000-year period was really during, because it says here, right here, it says following the Middle Ages, which was during the Byzantine Empire, or the Dark Ages, as they like to call it. Say generally described as taking place from the 14th century, which is what, 1300s. All right, now if you Google it, Renaissance, it'll tell you approximately 1300s. It doesn't give you an exact date, but from what we're about to go into, you can get a rough estimate of when it started and when it when that 1,000 year period was roughly. Okay, so again, the Renaissance uh, literally means rebirth. Okay, so and what did they bring? Rebirth, their culture, which is death. All right, their artists, representations of who God was and who the Messiah was and who the holy people of the Lord are. Okay, and it lasted about 3 centuries. Okay, because what during the 17th century they was already over here in America. They've already had whitewashed the world and deceived the nations, like we read. It said, verse 3, Revelation 23, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, because so that during that 1,000 year period, all right, the what they call it, the Middle Ages, if you will, they weren't able to deceive the nations. Okay, they went from having the Roman Empire to losing it, then to coming back during the 1300s when they started getting into the papacy or the positions of the Pope. Okay, and that's what the Pope started taking over. The papacy started taking over. Okay, which at that point it was a bunch of damn devils. So let's go to Revelation. Let's see here. Let's go to Revelation, because now we just did I finish that actually? Yeah, that was good on Revelation 20. So let's go to Revelation. Let's go to Revelation 13, and then we'll go to Revelation 17. Okay, so remember, now we've read that beast was wounded, which was the ancient Roman Empire, as they said, the legs of iron. Now we're going to get to the point where it's becoming the feet of iron and the clay, which is still technically, like they said here, still Rome, but it's the Rome 2.0, so to say. All right, which America being the capital city of this new Rome, so to say. All right, so this is Revelation 13:1. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And those 7 heads are 10, or seven heads are 7 kingdoms that Esau had in rulership. Okay, 7 rulerships that he had. The 10 horns being the EU. Okay, so it says, and upon his horns 10 crowns. So these are 10 different pretty much today the EU would be, they said it originally started with, matter of fact, here's on the screen the EU. Okay, well, it started as the EEC. Okay, this is on Wikipedia, which started in 1958. Okay, and look at this. In 1957, it was created by the by the Treaty of Rome. In 1957, they passed this Treaty of Rome. Why would they call it the Treaty of Rome? It's because it was the Roman Empire reestablished. But remember, it didn't happen overnight. This beast coming back, all right, from his deadly wound, started back in the 1300s. Okay, and then they started making these things, the EEC, which in 1958 it was finally established, as you see over here, right here. Treaty signed in 1957, established 1958. So we're going to keep that in mind, those numbers in mind, because it will come in later, 1958. Okay. So, and again, these are the EU, which is, let's see if they give you the countries actually. Let's say, look right here, say seceded by the EU. So let's go, let's see what, if it tells us the members. Here we go. Let's go down to 3. Okay, here we go. Members. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is modern members. We want to see the original members though. Okay, let's go to the EU. Hold on. EU. Bear with me 1 second. Computer's not the fastest. All right. So this is EU. It's the same thing. Okay. Let's see the members. Where's the members? Let's see it. Okay. Treaty of Rome. There goes Treaty of Rome again. Demographics. Member states. Here we go. Okay, can we get the original though or date? Session. Let's do that. Session. Founder. Here we go. 2, 3. Germany, Belgium. Nice. I can't find it, man. But nonetheless, I know I saw it earlier. It's Slovakia. I seen it earlier. I can't remember where I saw it though. The 10 horns. Well, I could just name them off the top of my head though. You had Slovakia. I got it right here. You had Belgium. Well, actually, I think I just seen it. Slovakia. Tripping. I've been going through this for a little bit, so some of it I might have forgotten. But we're gonna get to the bottom of it. You got Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Spain, and Portugal, which those are one. Española. England and Ireland, those are one. And Germany, that's 10. Even though I just named 12, but again, what's it called? England and Ireland are one, and Spain and Portugal are one. So here we go. What the heck is going on, man? Jeez. Slovakia. There we go. Trying to get it to do the oldest ones first, but I don't have to go through that whole list. Okay. All right, here we go. There we go. All right, so you got Belgium, that's 1. France, 2. Germany, 3. Italy, 4. Luxembourg, 5. Netherlands, 6. Denmark, 7. Ireland, 8, which England's included in that. Greece, Slovakia. Oh man, they tripping on here, man. I just point them out on the map, man. Oh, Slovakia. That's why I see. I meant to get the EEC because that one didn't cut. The EU was later on. All right, here we go. There we go. The 1957. Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, and UK are the same. Greece and Greece, all right, is by itself, of course, and then Portugal and Spain are one. So we got Portugal and Spain, that's 1. Greece 2. UK and Ireland, that's 3. Denmark 4. Netherlands 5. Luxembourg 6. Italy 7. Germany 8. France 9. Belgium 10. So there you go. There's your 10 horns right there. Okay. There's your 10 horns. Slovakia took a minute, but it says back in Revelation 13:1, it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns." Those 7 heads, all right, the modern or the more modern term names would be the Greeks. Which again, these kingdoms: Greeks, Germania Major, Germania Minor, Gauls or France, Spain, the Roman Empire, and Britain. They're the British or the UK, if you want to call it that. So those are the 7 kingdoms or the 7 heads. Okay, and these are the 10 horns right here, right there. So let's read on verse 2. Oh, so like I didn't finish the first verse. It says, "Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemies." So what did these nations do when they, again, going back all the way to the 1300s, during the Renaissance period, they were committing blasphemy with what? Their artistic bullshit. That's blasphemy, saying that they're the Most High. All right, painting these little white babies with angels. The Marco, what's his name? Matter of fact, it's in this book. See, that's why I like this book's pretty good. Brothers should check it out. Let's see if I have a bookmark here. So let's go to, because it got a timeline here. I'm gonna go to the 13th century, or 13th, 14th century. Right here it says, no, where did I see it? Renaissance. Okay, I think it's in here actually, because it goes. Okay, well, let me just keep reading. It says, "From darkness to light, the Renaissance begins during the Middle Ages, which is that 1,000-year period. A period that took place between the fall of ancient Rome, which Yeah, 1476 is when Rome itself fell, but the pagan Roman Empire had already fell by that point. In the beginning of the 14th century, Europeans made a few advances in science and art, also known as the Dark Ages. The era is often branded as a time of war, ignorance, famine, and pandemics such as the Black Death. But wait a minute. Why is it the Dark Ages? Because the so-called Negroes were ruling first and foremost, but they put that connotation of dark because meaning void of knowledge. Okay? That's why, because they don't want to tell you that it was so-called Negroes ruling Europe at that time. All right, say some historians, however, believe that such grim depictions of the Middle East were greatly exaggerated. There you go, man. Because what happened? Let's go back to Revelation 20. Revelation 20 and 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit. Again, Europe during the Dark Ages. That's when they were in that pit, and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. So he wasn't able to deceive the nations till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. So after the Dark Ages is when that 1,000-year period was fulfilled. And what did they do after that? Came with their culture. All right, started painting things. And then what did they do? They greatly exaggerated the Middle Ages because that's a deception. That's deceiving people. Okay? It says, though many agree that there was relatively little regard for ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, yeah, it should say there was little regard for Edomite philosophies, which they still were taking on. They were still being wicked as hell. Those jakes were wicked, but nonetheless, it wasn't Edomites ruling. All right, they weren't in the position of power anymore. And learning at the time, and then it goes into how they started bringing humanism, which is what this the fucking wickedness in the philosophies of this wicked ass devil. Okay, so let's go back to Revelation 13 again. It says, verse 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, going back to the Greek Empire, which were Edomites, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, because see, the Russians, they weren't separate during the time of the ancient Roman Empire. All right, but this time they're separate from the beast, and that's why it's the defeat, because it's going to be the end of this place. The Russians are going to be the ones leading charge to destroy America. It says, which is again Rome, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, going into Great Britain, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Right? Because what did it get all these modern philosophies from, all their architect from, the ways of how they run their society from the ancient Roman Empire? Okay, the ancient pagan Roman Empire. Verse 3, Revelation 13:3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. So again, let's go back to this book. So one of the heads, which we named as one of the 7 heads, okay, was wounded, which was the Roman Empire. And it said, let's read it again. It said, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So his deadly wound was healed after that 1,000-year period that we read about in Revelation 20, and that we're reading about right here on historychannel.com. Okay, that's how he was healed. The wound was healed when he came back into power. That's why they can't in this book here, they can't correlate it, because they're not going into the book of Revelation. They said legs of iron and feet of iron and clay, Rome. Which they're not wrong, but what happened? You gotta establish when it was wounded and when it was healed. Okay, so now let's go to Revelation chapter 17. We'll start at the top. All right, this is Revelation chapter 17 and 1. It says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. So that great whore is America. That sitteth upon many waters. We'll go to the end real quick to show you what that means. Verse 15, Revelation 17 and 15 says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So who sits above all these other nations? It's America. All right, so this whore that's sitting upon the beast is America. Now, America, that's why it makes a distinction between the whore and the beast, even though the whore is the beast, if you will, but it's the one that controls the beast, if you will. Like when you ride a horse, you sit on top of the horse and you pull this way, you pull that way, and you guide the horse, right? You're in control of the horse. So just like America's in control, going to show you that it is Rome, okay? Just like the ancient Rome, back 2,000 years ago, the shots, all right, the control, so to say, was coming from where? It was coming from Rome, which we know the elites don't live here in America for the most part, but this is the capital city, so to say, okay? Let me keep reading. Back in Revelation 17, verse 2, it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And how have the kings of the earth committed fornication? Because the philosophies that America pushes out, democracy, all right, the alphabet community, all the shit, the trends, all right, the wine, everything that you see around the world is coming from America. All these trends that people are taking on, the democracy, okay, the way of life, the way of living, all comes from America. All these trends come from America, man, which is that fornication, because what? That's spiritual. It's a spiritual thing. They're laying in bed with this hoe. It's a whore. Remember, it said that great whore. Okay, so everybody's looking at this hoe. She got fake tits, fake ass, caked on makeup, hair extensions, got the big old high heels, got the red lipstick. Everybody's wondering after this hoe. But what? It's to trap you up because it's fake. It's all an illusion. It's not real. Okay, and all these other nations have become drunk off of it. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of fornication. I mean, there's plenty of precepts to go on into that. But you know what? Let's just do it. Let's go to Nahum 3 real quick, just to back up that verse right there. What was that? The second verse. Let's go to Nahum 3, and I'll start at 1. It says, "Go to the bloody city," which this was talking about Nineveh, but this is spiritually Nineveh, and you'll see why. It says, "Go to the bloody city; it is full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and the prancing horses and the jumping chariots." Am I amazing? Okay, yeah. Let me jump to verse 4. That's the point. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. So again, this America's the well-favored harlot because what? It's the top hoe of the brothel, so to say. It looks good. All right, it's enticing. But what? It says the mistress of witchcraft that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcraft. So this is a hoe, okay? And it's just to entice you, to get you to drink of this wine and to commit fornication with her, which all the kings of the earth. That's why you see all these McDonald's in China and people wearing suits in Saudi Arabia. All these nations have drunk of the cup of America. So they're going to show you who the beast is run by, so to say. As far as the philosophies being pushed out, is America, because the EU, Britain, France, they have been around for a lot longer than America has, but when America became that superpower, that's when it really spread their democracies. That's when the Roman Empire was fully reestablished. That's when that wound was, fully healed, so to say, now that America was established, okay? That was the last piece of the puzzle, so to say, for them to be rebirthed, okay? Again, the Renaissance started way back then, but what? Not until America was around the block, with AKA the whore, that's when the philosophies took it to a whole other level. You know what I'm saying? Verse 3, Revelation 17:3, it says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." Again, we have already went over that 7 heads, 10 horns. All right, the scarlet-colored beast is symbolic for red. You go to or not symbolic for red. It's another way of saying red. Revelation 12:3, it says, And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. So who's red? Who is referred to as red in the scriptures? Esau, Edom. Edom literally means red. Okay. Let me see. I wanted to get to a point here to go. Okay, let's keep going. It says in verse 4, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stone and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Right? Who's this cup full of abominations and filthiness is the philosophies America pushes out. The alphabet community. Now you can be whatever the fuck you want. One day you can wake up and identify as a tree, and then nobody can say nothing. You can tomorrow you can wake up and be a woman, identify as a woman, and that's okay. That's filthiness, man. That's an abomination in the sight of the Lord. You can get a sex change, and now it's spreading like cancer around the world. Why? Because all these other nations have drank of this cup, man. That golden cup. It says in her verse 5, and upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, the mother of harlots. Again, that mistress. All right, and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with blood of the saints, right? Because what crimes have been committed? Who are the saints? The Israelites. And she's drunk with the blood of saints because look, going all the way back to 1492 during the Renaissance, okay, during that rebirth, they was all out here butchering our people, man, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans. And then around the late 1500s, they started bringing so-called Negroes, all right, Judah, Benjamin, Levi over here on slave ships, butchering them on the ships. Then brought them here to work hardcore slavery, man. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, right? Because prophets of the Lord have died on these shores, man. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Again, that's how all the nations look at it. If John the Revelator is looking at this whore with great admiration, what do you think these other people look at? That's why they call it the American dream. People fly in. They used to. It's not so much anymore, but people used to come here to live the American dream, live life. Oh, it's a paradise in America. One day I want to make it to America. And now you make it to America and you find out it was a bullshit lie. You were sold a bullshit dream. You was so in that, and you realize it's a nightmare. Okay. And look, that's why people are leaving this place. Okay. They're going back to their own homes. Verse 7, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? Right, the angel's like, why you don't marvel at this hope? I will tell thee the mystery, because remember it was the mystery. Verse 5, it said mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. It says, I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Okay, let's go. So, talking about America, okay, because America is the reestablishment of Rome completely. You know, even though the EU and the rest of the NATO countries are part of it, the beast, America ultimately is the final piece, which is the whore, which is the beast at the end of the day. But let's go to. So it said that they would ascend out of the bottomless pit. Here it is. This is them ascending out of the bottomless pit, the Renaissance. Okay, beginning to ascend out of the bottomless pit. America being established is the final piece of the rebirth, so to say. So now let's get some. When did they go into the bottomless pit? Okay, so see, what was I going to get here? Okay, so let's go to. So let's talk about when that 1,000-year period roughly started. They're saying the 14th century, which is the 1300s, okay? Roughly the 1300s. And then first I'll show you in the book. So, like I mentioned earlier about Constantine, he came into power. Well, I'll pull it up on Wikipedia as well. But I'll say roughly around 330 AD is when that period started, that roughly that third 1,000-year period started. Now I'll show you why. You go to Constantine the Great. All right. This is the guy that moved his capital from Rome. So that's when that 1,000-year period pretty much started. Because you go into the history. Where is it? Damn, where is it? It's in here somewhere. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. It says, oh, sorry, right here. It says the age of Constantine marked a distinct epoch in the history of the Roman Empire. He built a new imperial residence at Byzantium and renamed the city Constantinople, now Istanbul, which is in Turkey, after himself, the laudatory epithet of New Rome. So now that's here it is. That's that 1,000-year period starting, or the Dark Ages, emerged in his time and was never an official title. Yeah, of course not, because they're not going to tell you that. It subsequently became the capital of the empire. So this is when Rome was no longer the capital, showing you that Rome fell. The actual 1,000-year period of the beast being wounded is when, I mean, really you could say when they moved the capital, because it says it subsequently became the capital of the empire for more than 1,000 years. Did we not read in Revelation 20 that they were wounded and sent to the bottomless pit for 1,000 years? It said the later Eastern Roman Empire, being referred to as the Byzantine Empire by modern historians, his more immediate political legacy was that he replaced Diocletian's tetrarchy with the de facto principle of dynastic succession by leaving the empire to his sons and other members of the Constantine dynasty. You know, that's the point on that. So when did he do this? When did he move the city or the capital to Constantinople? Right here in this book, it tells you 330 AD. It says Constantine establishes the capital of the empire at Byzantium and renames it Constantinople. Right there where my finger is, 330. Okay. Now, you fast forward, so you do 1,000 years after that. What was taking place? The Renaissance, 14th century. 1,000 years from 1330 would be 1330. So roughly that time period. Not an exact number, but it was roughly around that time period. Okay, let me just go back to this. Let me see now. Here we go. So when did so after the 1330s? Okay, now let's go to the 1300s in this book, and then we'll come back to this history page. All right, what happened in the 1300s here? Let's find some. 1302, Pope claims supremacy over secular rules. Okay. What happened in 1348? The bubonic plague, which that was the end of that 1,000-year period. And that's what took Jake down. That's why Jake was no longer ruling, because of the bubonic plague. They say the bubonic plague, which that was the Lord, and making it so that now Esau could come back, because who took down the Byzantine Empire was the Khazarian Empire, mainly. It says the bubonic plague, which was 1348 to 1351. So that's a rough time period. So again, 1330, so like 330 to 1348, that's roughly 1,000 years, and give or take. The Lord doesn't deal in exact numbers, okay? Just like the 70 years of Babylon, it was actually like 68 or 69 years. But the bubonic plague, also known as the Black Death, kills 33% of the people in Europe. About 40 million people blame the disease, which is transmitted by fleas living on rats. On the Evignon Papacy, the Jews, or personal immortality. All right, so that was going on in the 1300s, and then when did they start doing the iconoclasms? Here you go. We all heard of these people. Leonardo da Vinci, 1452s. What did he make? The Last Supper. Iconoclasm. Deceiving the nations. You got this other dude, this Darius Eremius, whatever the hell, Galileo, Dante, Machiavelli. Okay, all these famous painters, William, which I thought he was Jake, but nonetheless, this is when they started painting over Michelangelo. Okay, this is painted the Sistine Chapel, carved David. Okay, Renaissance art. See, this is all. It was a progression. They've slowly but surely been deceiving the nations. And then what happened in the 1492? You know what happened? So who was in power at that time? Coming back into power, because you still had Jakes ruling in England. You know, King James came later in the 1600s. But you had, for the most part, Spain. They came, the Esau was ruling in Spain, Portugal, okay, which here tells you 1479, the Spanish Inquisition begins at the initiation of King Ferdinand V and Queen Isabella of Spain and is approved by the Pope. So at this time, the Pope was Edomite, which I read it somewhere earlier who it was. I can't find it now. New Pope Gregory the 11th to return the papacy to Rome, which he does in 1377. There you go, man. So they moved in 1377. They moved the papacy back to Rome. Okay. So you know the rest of the story after that. They're deceiving the nations to this day. That was pretty much all I wanted on Constantine here. I mean, you have to look it up yourself. Go into the history. There's more history to it, but he was the Roman emperor at the time. But let's go back to Revelation 17. It says, verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, right? Because was when it was the Roman Empire, and is not because what? It was going to be that time of the Dark Ages when they were put in the bottomless pit. That's when it was not. It was when it was wounded. But it says, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. Because when America was fully established, that's when the beast, or that's when this Roman Empire started going down. Okay, and also that's when when Rome was set up, or America was set up, they started going around destroying shit everywhere, dropping bombs. All right, took it to a whole nother level. Weapons of mass destruction. Okay, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, right? Because the people that not written in the foundation of life, the ones that are not predestinated, are going to wonder after this hope, after this beast. They're going to fall in love with it. They're going to worship it, and ultimately take its mark. It says, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. You know, then it goes in and we'll keep reading. We'll keep reading. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the women sitteth. So 7 mountains means 7 rulerships, 7 kingdoms, right? And the beast that was and is not. So I skipped verse 10. And there were 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. So what? Again, these are the more modern names of them: Greeks, Germania Major, Germania Minor, France, and Spain. Those are the 5 that are fallen. Then you have Roman Empire that was during this time that John the Revelator was writing this, and then you had Britain, which was the 7th. It says, and 1 is. It says 5 are fallen, which I told you the 5. And again, there's ancient names for them. I can't think of them, or there's more older names for them. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but if a brother remembers them, put them in the comment board. And 1 is, which was the Roman Empire, and the other is not yet come, which the other one was Britain or Great Britain. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Right? That's because when Britain was, in power, that's where pretty much America came from. You know, because what the war for independence, that was against Great Britain. Verse 12, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet. Right? So they had not received a kingdom yet. The EU, again, let's go back to it. The EU was not established until when? Or the EEC, which is the EU, was not established until 1958. 1958. Treaty of Rome was in 1957. The establishment was not January 1st, 1958. So this is the 10 horns. And then what did it say? It said, and the 10 horns, the EU, which thou sawest, are 10 kings, 10 these 10 countries we were talking about earlier, 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet. Because during this Roman Empire, there was these what was the countries? Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, which Italy was around. But as these nations, as they are called today, they were not set up yet like they are right there. Okay, in January, the 50s or 1900s. But it says, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So now that's why I told you earlier to remember this number, 1958. 1 hour is roughly 42 years, 40 years. Okay? So what, 1958 plus 40 is about 2000. 42. It'd be 42 years would be about 2000, roughly. Okay? And that the EU. Okay, well, not, but so they were in power. Okay, that between or what it say they were given. It said these where did it go? It says but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So they were in power with the beast for these, that time frame. But now look at them. Who the fuck respects what is it? Who the fuck respects Belgium, Luxembourg, Denmark? Anybody in the year 2021, nobody respects them countries as far as powers. It says, verse 13, these have one mind and shall give their powers and strength unto the beast. There you go, man. And that's the point I want to bring out. You got to know this history, man. And going back to this book. If they were to, well, even if they do know, they're not going to put it out there. But goes to show you that they're right. Again, the Treaty of Rome, the 10 horns. What is it? The Treaty of Rome. You can zoom up in there. There you go. The Treaty of Rome. You got the Renaissance. Okay. It all connects with the beast and the whore. Renaissance. The Treaty of Rome. This is the beast that was wounded and is back today. And what are they gonna do? They're gonna mark. They're gonna put a mark on everybody, man. So again, in closing out, Lord's Word was edifying. Here you go. The page that inspired this lesson, legs of iron and feet of iron and clay. They say Rome. They need to go deeper and tell you that Rome was back today. Okay, they give you a little history there of the Roman Empire. Okay, gives you the scriptures, vision of terrifying beast, legs and feet of statue. There you go, man. So with that, Lord's willing is edifying. And we give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, the one to the elder apostles, great millstone who rule well. Salutation and much love to Joachim out there, pushing out his word and truth sincerity. Again, if you want to check this book out, picked it up at Walmart, right? 15, 17 bucks, something like that. All right, Shalom. Mawat Lababal. All right.